my Christian friends, to our Lord and Savior Jesus. Amen. We continue our series on minor prophets but major messages, and today we will look at the prophet Obadiah and his message of God's justice. Today this lesson is about God's response to Edom's arrogance and pride, especially at the expense of victims, and how we should respond to unjust acts against them. This lesson will hopefully encourage you to humbly take an active part in helping others in times of their need, especially when they have been victimized here in our world. The first section talks about the nation's attitude. The vision of Obadiah. This is what the sovereign Lord says about Edom. We have heard a message from the Lord. An envoy was sent to the nations to say, "Arise, and let us go against her for battle. See, I will make you small among the nations. You'll be utterly despised. The pride of your heart has deceived you. You who live in the cliffs of the rocks and make your home in the heights. You who say to yourself, who can bring me down to the ground? Though you soar like the eagle and make your nest among the stars, from there I will bring you down, declares the Lord." The book of Obadiah is a judgment against the nation of Edom. Because of her refusal to help Israel when she was being taken into captivity by the Babylonians in 586. So that kind of dates the book of Obadiah for us. The nation of Edom was south of Palestine and the land of Israel. This little map gives you a little perspective on where the nation of Edom was in comparison to Israel and so on. Very south, actually southeast a little bit. You would look at that map and you would probably not have an idea how big the nation of Edom was. So if we would superimpose the nation of Edom on a portion of the United States, it would cover all of those states that you see there. Minnesota, Milwaukee, or Wisconsin, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, half of Kentucky, all of Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and half of Virginia, would you believe it? So Edom was a pretty large area of country in which this nation lived. The reason for God's judgment on Edom was that she had a proud heart. Now we're not talking pride in your dress or your appearance, or proud in the sense that you want to do the best you possibly can in life. That would be a good pride, okay? Unfortunately, Edom did not have that. She was self-assured and overconfident. She thought she was invincible against enemy attacks. We're safe. We got it made. We don't have to worry about anything, much less go to the true God and seek His assistance. Because she lived in cities nestled in caves and cliffs that peppered the mountainous region in which Edom lived. This gives you some perspective on where Edom and its people lived. They would literally carve out the rocks and the mountains and live in these dwellings. This is, again, some of the ruins left of the nation of Edom and the living places that these people lived in. They thought for sure they were invincible. Who can attack us? We're made strong by the mountains in which we live. Who can get at us? This particular picture you see here is the Edom temple to their false god Dagon. They did not worship the true God, unfortunately. And now today, all but tourist attractions. Today, we would think that self-confidence is thought to be a very important human characteristic, something that you and I ought to develop and work with and so forth. Unfortunately for Edom, though, when it was combined with pride, it leads to sinful arrogance and presumption. I got it made. I don't have to worry about anything. Bank account is full. 401k is maxed out. Property is paid for. House is all in good shape. You got it made, right? until the Lord would say, tonight, your soul will be required of you. That's the pride that Edom had. You know how you spell pride? P-R-I-D-E. Illustrates what the center of that word is. Me, and my life, and my security, and my whatever. It's the capital I that makes pride a problem. We cannot be misled to think that our status quo in our world, or that our nation, for that matter, is acceptable to God. We live in a great land, to be sure, but is not the presumption and pride and security that our nation wants to identify pride that is arrogant and presumptuous, and maybe God's judgment is necessary upon us? How quickly our security can be rocked, as the bombing in Boston illustrates so vividly. It just takes one crazy radical to upset our security. Much more, rather than trusting in our nation's wealth and prosperity, we need to turn to the true God. You see, God wants us to trust in Him alone. That's the issue. Not in our nation's many defenses, be it economically or militarily or whatever you want to name. We need to trust in God and recognize that all these human entities can go away real quick. Edom was a nation that failed to act. In Obadiah chapter 1. Because of the violence against your brother Jacob, you will be covered with shame. You will be destroyed forever. Those pictures I showed you earlier, illustration of how this word of God come to be. On the day you stood aloof, while strangers carried off his wealth and foreigners entered his gates and cast lot for Jerusalem, you were like one of them. You should not look down on your brother in the day of his misfortune, nor rejoice of the people of Judah in the day of their destruction, nor boast so much in the day of their trouble. You should not march through the gates of my people in the day of their disaster, nor look down on them in their calamity in the day of their disaster, nor seize their wealth in the day of their disaster.